Начинаем. Коллеги, добрый день.
Colleagues, good afternoon. I'm glad to hear you all here on the site Skolkovo at our startup village. Today, within this session, we'll speak about CAE for mechanical engineering made in Russia. Made in Russia. But it's in English because today we'll discuss how we can use, how we can convert these words into made in Russia. And we'll speak about import dependency. We'll speak with our guests about this, and our guests are Dmitry Ginda, Ascon Company, Director on Marketing Development, Konstantin Golovkin, Director on Development of the company Top Systems, Anton Plaksin, the company Remix, the Director on Sales, and Konstantin Shadrin, the Director of Department of Digital Development, the State Corporation Roscosmos. Import substitution, or as we now say, reduction of import dependency, it's essential task for us, and it revealed the issues linked with providing for technological dependency in our country on the whole, and also domestic mechanical engineering. For some industries of machine building, we have a Western implemented solution. Innovation, it's even about 95%. And now the issue about is very relevant because a lot of vendors go from this market. Foreign vendors. How can we replace them? In what industries Russian solutions are able to quickly replace them, fast win, and where do we have still problems? I would like to ask guests this question. Dmitry, your company has been working for a long time at the market. You have high class products, domestic products. What are you thinking about it? Good afternoon. The answer is both simple and difficult, because if we speak about possibility for replacement, they exist. But can we replace everything? It's more complicated, of course. If we speak about the widely spread solutions which are covered by modern CAE, Western or Russian, we are actively competing. You can transfer to us. All possibilities are open here, but those industries which we heard, advanced industries, airspace, aerospace, not only aviation, where the cost of solution in any technical way is very huge, and there are some specific tasks which were solved by those vendors who live now. And domestic developers have not faced these tasks yet. That's why we don't have any solutions for them. But these tasks are quite rare and difficult, of course. And in our estimates, 5% of such working time amounts to, narrow tasks. Speaking about substitution, it's possible. But in case if the industry comes to vendors and tells them about those tasks which cannot be solved by domestic analogs, Ascon company is already having negotiations. I hope that we'll also hear this confirmations. Now we have examples in Roscosmos also. We're glad that they are. But not all representatives of these industries are open to the dialogue and transparent and are ready to share all these details, which now don't have any solutions in modern domestic proposals. Yes, we can solve the majority of tasks. Yes, there are some situations where we can hear them, but we need time for this. And when there is a way, there is a will, there is a way. Now, our next, one of our next top 3 vendors, top systems. Konstantin, what about you? Hello, colleagues. Perhaps I'm here. I can agree with our colleagues. The company Top Systems and Ascon have been at the market for more than 30 years. We have the anniversary, 30 years this year. During this period, we have done a lot of things and workups, technological workups, which allow us to be very optimistic regarding the future. I can support colleagues that there are some tasks, complicated tasks, multifaceted tasks, but that are really difficult. And they're specific labor, they require a lot of labor. And when Western vendors started to leave, large vendors, and we wanted to use their software programs, basic programs, we saw that they are used maybe to 20-30%. I don't speak about high-tech corporations, but still, nevertheless, we can monitor such things. And of course, we also in a constant dialogue, interaction with our leading technological companies. These are Rostech and Roscosmos, Rosatom, and we constantly do investments into development, searching for new solutions. We try to satisfy those requirements which corporations have. Thank you. This is about CAE for machine building industries. But when we speak about development of printing boards, articles of microelectronics, usually we name 2 vendors, and now they are also leaving. 3 vendors. Sorry. Now, Anton, are they leaving also from our market? And you, what can you see? What possibilities do you see? CAE of electronics can be divided into several things. There are many of them, and we can separate them into levels. The first level, designing of printing boards, and on the upper part, microelectronics. Of the crystal level, there are specific CAE for separate areas of electronics, and there are some other competitors. In Russia, for example, in the issue of CAE of electronics, it's a very difficult situation regarding import dependency, and it's much worse than we are speaking about mechanical systems. And till recently, we did not have any industrial use of Russian CAE electronics, but it covers only the level of printing boards. Delta Design CAE at the level of printing boards is applicable already in the Russian industrial enterprises. And the problem is a little bit better, not so huge. But in microelectronics, we only have workups, not even any industrial application of Russian systems. Remix company has some workups, but CAE for microchips, microelectronics, this is the most complicated CAE which can exist. And this development should be lasting for dozens of years. Cadence Mentor, for example, Cadence Mentor, Synopsys, they have been doing this for dozens of years, and for the first years they did not even have a return on investment. They survived on donations, and Remix company has now only in plans till 2024 this. Only some part of microelectronics CAE could be offered. Anton, I can have a provocative question. Maybe should we start in this case? How should we substitute? Maybe we should not substitute, but we can see the situation now on the whole, and if enterprises go through some difficulties, and they already have difficulties, purchases of new licenses, renewables, updates, if we don't start right now, it will be late. Now we still have workups, and I think it's good if industry will give us feedback. And for 5-7 years, some parts of these products will appear, some components. If we speak about technological dependency or independency, maybe there will be some moment which can, for enterprises which already use Western software system of design, and there will be such a moment when they should make a decision about transfer, migration from one product to another one. It's quite painful. It's a painful procedure which also can last for years. And Konstantin Shadrin, I have a question to you. And Roscosmos Corporation, there are 75 plus largest companies, developers, operation companies, and in some companies there are already foreign systems of design and support of production. How do you see, whether it's possible to migrate to domestic solutions, and what risks do you see here? Thank you very much. It's in-depth question, actually. The risks, yes, there are risks. And then, before answering the question, I would like to reply. The Russian Federation, Roscosmos, to have the leading positions in space, the best space satellites, the best services. It's impossible to do best devices and best services, best products, without having the best means of production or tools. And we, for many years, we have felt this policy of retaining. We don't even speak about transfer of technologies, but we don't have an access to leading technologies. And for us, this is evident that in 2019, when we confirmed the strategy of transformation, we already had basic principles, and we realize that this is the governmental task on technological independence. It's difficult, but there are also some positive things. We paid attention to the leading products. We know how it should be, and we can be qualified customers for domestic enterprises, and not maybe not so pumped by money as Western companies. That's why, undoubtedly, this is a general task. Last year, the largest organization, State Corporation of Roscosmos, Rosatom, Rostelecom, Gazprom Neft, they already, some other representatives joining us. We want to have the united forefront on typical standard cases. And vendors also have this problem. They want to test, and they should come to everybody and at the level and at MVP to test something. And we can gather together. We are ready to give you support. We want to be mentors for development of your product, which in the future can have a guaranteed demand. Speaking about sectoral tasks, we of course cooperate with organizations where it's already possible. So the representatives of practically all companies also cooperate with us, and there are good examples with colleagues from SCON and top systems where we replaced import giants with even better characteristics. Russian suppliers gave better services than it was before. It's a serious thing, and we can grow Russian unicorns and look at these issues differently. They should catch up with us. And we are for the first in space because we had the best technologies. IT community should catch up with. And now the state gives a lot of support. Colleagues have more resources and tools to satisfy needs of business and global customers. Yes, I think this transfer is difficult, but together with this, especially when we implement CAE, the process is key, the process of design. And if we implement the design, it's described, it's mature for representatives of IT community. They should come and restore it. And in this case, this transfer will be much simpler. We don't need to change methodology and paradigm. I think everything is possible here. Thank you very much. It's commercial way, commercial journey, but also there is another journey of strategical partnership when a vendor and within the framework of development and launch of new products of Roscosmos, state corporations share risks and participate, and it can be also a co-executor together with the development of methodology. It's like this, without even any legal things. Domestic vendors understand that they are responsible. We can also create joint ventures and new directions of business. So I think we have some certain things to work at. Yes, we can. With other corporations, our corporations have appropriate things, and they want to create some certain IT products, but Roscosmos has its own products and its own workups. And we should cooperate with Russian community, and so we want to achieve results. Codex, stories, or Kaya. This are not trivial tasks. We also can create global products and the joint product. I think in this case we restrict vendors in development because not we can be their partners. There should be a product which is based on clients' experience, which we have around the country. You spoke about resources, and also the resources which are relieved from when Western vendors leave Russia. the center of development, research are shut down. These people, some go to Dubai, but still some of them stay in Russia. Konstantin, are you trying to look at these people who go from the company, who were conductors of the world best practices in Russia? You know, this question is raised often. This problem, of course, exists, and we look at those specialists who worked in Western vendor companies. We are interested in their experience, but together with this, now it's difficult to catch them, because Western vendors left, but Chinese partners came. And in many cases, they offer good conditions for our specialists. I think the market will be in the status, will have a status quo, and the problem of the insufficient qualified developers, services, of engineers and specialists on implementation, it exists. Ascon, what is your opinion? I can support this, and I can add also some comments. Objectively, Western vendors had here development of research, but they were not linked with key directions. Speaking about implementing of products, yes, the specialists were in place, but regarding development of the core of the system, no, the headquarters are in other places. We know that Wintel had several departments in Nizhny Novgorod, for example, and we took some people from there. Secondly, as CAE developers, we have very high requirements to personnel, and our tasks are specific, mathematically complicated, and a lot of science, and this heated market of IT, for example. So high specialists, you know, so sometimes they come to negotiation, and you know, they just don't want to go to the army. Yes, yes, of course, and they want a high salary just immediately, but he can't fulfill the simplest task, for example. Very high requirements also we have. And the Western and Chinese partners have very good conditions also. Now we also have very high demands for qualification. It's very difficult to find such personnel, and plus they should understand problems, to understand the pains of customers. This is also needed at the beginning, and the person should also know it. Also, for electronics, it's important that we need people such as programmers, product people, but it's easier than programmers. And people who are experts in electronics. Western vendors are leaving, but they take people with them. For example, our competitor office is closed, and they offer these people some job in other countries. And also key employees, key developments, a lot of key developments were conducted from here by our developers, but they take them. They offer full relocation, full moving, or work online. That's why it's difficult to offer them also something. But before this situation, Guinness office was planning to close, and we also took some of the employees. Yeah, so this is the problem, which is well known. And coming back to what Dmitry has said about high requirements to people, to engineers. Do you have some system how to educate such people, how to give them experience? because it's very difficult to find such people in the street. Regarding electronics, it's better to have a ready person and having high level. Speaking about programming, yes, middle and senior programmers are not so many, and also in Russia we have such companies as Rosatom, Sber, and Roscosmos, maybe. So those companies which take good people, high professionals. They at that time they vacuumed the whole market and they took old people. Roscosmos I don't know, but Rosatom yes, they have a lot, and Sber. Konstantin, you took the best engineers. Yes, our industry is positive, and it's important to invest into human capital. That's why we cooperate with the leading universities, and we have our even basic departments. And yes, we grow their specialists, and even being students, they like already to work in Roscosmos. They understand our specifics, they are ready to fulfill the current tasks, and our vendors also should look look at customs. How many basic departments do we have? If I look at the Western giants, they are presented as labs everywhere, in departments in the universities. Some colleagues can say that they have a wide coverage of young audience. A specialist comes to the enterprise, for example, defense enterprise, and he doesn't only have theoretical skills but also practical skill in Russian product. If he was taught since being a student at the foreign software, he comes and asks for something else. And we also mentioned import substitution, but now we retrain these specialists with diplomas, who was taught at different software. And the domestic community also should think about this. The leading universities are open and ready. They're interested in this, and programmers, engineers, and even engineer programmers also should do this. In the modern world, just an engineer who can draw something with a pencil, he is not in demand, and in some unique professions where we are looking for artists, yes, maybe there, yes, but in our case, no. We need if a technologist with the knowledge of programming, if a constructor also with knowledge of something else. He needs to know a lot of parameters.
Right, thank you. This is indeed a problem. Whether to turn an IT professional in a designer or a designer into an IT professional. Well, Konstantin, as to the work of state corporations, not only with the vendors, but also with startups, how do you organize this work? I know that Roscosmos is in close cooperation with the SK Fund. Do you see any value from it? Do you see any value from attracting startups to your projects? Yes, right. This is indeed a very important task. The young generation, the generation 15 plus, already have some business streak. They are playing games such as the War of Tanks, then they do the gamification. They do understand that everything is worth something in the world. We see the training programs emerging in universities that are striving to be the leaders. They are based on such projects as a startup creation, for example, or defense. And indeed, those students that can address a business task still have to understand that sometimes when they come up with some new idea, they first should study the research the market, because maybe such kind of a solution already exists. And here we need to do some important work on this. Last year, jointly with the Skolkovo Foundation, we organized an unprecedented accelerator. There was just unexpected interest towards this program. And that included not only IT and digital solutions, it was also about satellites, different satellite stages and elements, and some classic technologies. Some of the participants weren't actually startups, but were quite mature companies. But some of them were needing some mentor, and they got what they wanted. And some of them still continue to work and to attract investment. Via us, they got the awareness, and jointly with our companies and with some commercial investors, they are delivering on their business models. Are they these people that you mentioned with the shining eyes and those who have passion for space? And our major companies, like backbone companies of Russia, do you also work with startups? Well, first and foremost, we are a business organization. And we aim at profit and revenue. This is the goal of the business, on the one hand. But on the other hand, we have a set of tech initiatives. We work with them internally. For example, we organize internal hackathons. We want to get some interesting and meaningful results. Based on that, we identify and assess whether it's a good opportunity for investment or not, and how to interact with the startups. That's how we proceed. Thanks, Dmitry. I'd like to use this platform and opportunity because we were approached by startups for some comments from us. They said something like, well, we are a small project, but we would really like to get some feedback from you, they said, and we proceeded on an individual basis. Today, in the current context, we do understand that we have to initiate some serial solution. Currently, we do have some offerings for startups. So if anybody who's listening to us now, if you have some need for a software in the field of engineering, such as a CAE or CAD or anything else, we will build this solution. First, we'll provide you with the licenses free of charge, because we do understand that at the start, fortunately or unfortunately, you don't calculate the capitalization. You need to just implement your idea to create some product, be that a software, a printed circuit board, or anything else. If you are a startup in the creation of IT products, I would also like to draw your attention to some niches. Now, some foreign vendors left us, and that's why we have some white zones in industrial enterprises, those that are not covered by any product. It is not that there is no particular function in some product, but there are no such products at all. One of these examples is rendering. We don't have any Russian-based rendering. And we do have a huge demand for this. Look, we have 3 vendors here, and they are using, on the stage, and we are using international rendering. Okay, so one of our companies, RMX, they don't have any rendering. Why? Because they can transfer the result of the design to the CAD system. So, main idea is that there is no domestic solution. The task itself is not a rocket science. It won't take you 10 years to develop. You can implement it quite fast. Objectively, we do understand that the first version of your product will allow us to address the simplest tasks in rendering, and we stand ready to help you to implement it and to upgrade it up to the commercial versions. If you are interested in it, come to us and we'll try to apply your IT efforts somewhere else as well. And RMX company, is it a startup? Well, RMX is also a Skolkovo resident, actually. A couple of years ago, we talked to companies that were addressing some particular tasks, targeted tasks. But now, based upon Dmitri's example, I'd like to say that, okay, so let's take an example of printed circuit boards and the computer-aided engineering problems. There are like a semi-heavy printed circuit board and heavy printed circuit board, and they're quite different. Sometimes we need to model the thermal parameters to calculate the electromagnetic parameters and indicators. So some of the tasks are covered by our partners, some of them are not. This is the field for the development, and we stand ready to respond to these kinds of partnerships. And I would also like to support Dmitry and say that definitely will provide startups with software on a privileged basis. We were receiving the incoming calls from Skolkovo startups, and they were getting grants for their developments, like micro grants probably, and we've always supported them. There is a Skolkovo resident. It is a company that deals with avionics for small aircrafts. I forgot how it's called. So they are developing avionics for the small aircrafts, and they're using our system. This is a great example indeed of collaboration between Skolkovo residents. By the way, if we talk about support, currently we see the unprecedented support measures from the state, from the government. And I'd like to say that Skolkovo Foundation acts as an operator regarding the ruling 555, and also we have the ruling 676 about the AI technologies. So here we'd like to say that there are unprecedented conditions, and the subsidy is given to a company who actually implements it. So the support measure is for a pair, such as or including the customer and the provider. But at the same time, the grant can also cover some finalization of the product. So it's not a TRL 9, it's TRL from 4 to 8. So we see some huge interest coming from companies towards these programs. So there is a company, Top Systems. Last year, it took part in a competition jointly with the Mega Corporation, it's a helicopter corporation. Could you please, Alexei, comment on that a little bit? Yes, right. So I can just say that it works. Definitely, you can get such grant. There are some difficulties at the preparation stage, I mean, to get the documents ready. But the colleagues from Skolkovo, I mean, the top systems and mega state corporation helped us a lot in this respect. So, later on, when we started to implement this project, and we started to roll it out, well, everybody understood that it incurred a lot of bureaucracy. Everybody was afraid of it, but actually the process is quite streamlined, and we can get the support that we need. Yes, indeed, there are a lot of papers and there's a lot of paperwork. Unfortunately, in this digital world, the more we digitize, the more paper we have to still get. I would also like to discuss the advanced technologies. We have one famous vendor from France, and they are transferring their solutions to clouds quite actively. So, do you have any results in this respect? Is there any demand for cloud solutions? And also, Konstantin, as the representative of the industry, I would like to ask you, are you ready to consider cloud solutions or not? So, Dmitry, let's start with you. So, the specifics of our customers is that the result of the activities is not just IP rights, but it's also state secret. Unfortunately, this incurs some really strict requirements on the safety of this information. The cloud technologies that are accessible today cannot really meet these requirements, because now the main tool to protect information is the isolation of the information. It's an IT fortress. That's how we protect it. So when we talk about an external cloud, this is out of discussion. If we talk about a corporate cloud, well, that's a bit different story. We do have such solutions. And if we talk about PLM, then it's a client service system, customer service system, and it's quite similar to a cloud system. So initially, this is how it's organized. So the cloud is owned by the entity who bought it and who services it. Okay, sorry, then I'd like to specify what cloud is. We are not talking about the cloud as a global internet, but indeed the data should be in the digital fortress. But if it's a digital fortress of the size of Russia, like Russian nets, etc., well, it is possible. But the question is when we will enlarge this fortress and whether it's worth it. It's the question to the industry. We, as a company, are ready to implement, but tell us what should we do. When we get the technical description of the task, technical reference, then we can start. Is Roscosmos ready to act as such a customer? Well, if we take a look at the geography of our enterprises, then from the very west to the very east, we are represented. And by and large, when it comes to virtual distributed design bureau, when calculations are done in different territories, that's already a reality, and it's working. And for the enterprises and for the industry, when it comes to public solutions right now, this is not really relevant for us. It's too costly, and we don't understand why we should spend the resources on the protection, because there are some requirements from the regulator that have to be met. Well, internally it works. When it comes to the internal transfer of technologies, when we just transfer some data to the startups so that they could get the service, calculate some task with the use of our advanced technologies from Roscosmos, we are currently working on that. So it will be a secure connection, work on our platforms. If we talk about the global net and the Russian customers, well, if we publish all the resources, it will not be really meaningful. And the technology of production, it is one of the strategic areas for us. Why should we publish the information about it? Well, right, this is a very important comment. Well, we'd like to cover a couple of more questions, but unfortunately we are very much pressed for time, lagging behind our agenda. So thanks a lot, dear guests. Thank you for taking time and coming to Skolkovo. Thank you for the discussion. So, dear colleagues from the audience, if you have any questions to our speakers, perhaps our speakers could talk to you after the official closing of the stage. Thank you.